You might have thought to yourself, those Optimal Living Advice fellows put together such a smooth podcast. How can I possibly do the same for my podcast? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast and a good one. First of all, it's free. Thanks for coming. Not going to complain about that one. And it provides creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Not only that, but Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. That's a huge deal with how many great podcasts are on the market today, but Anchor enables you to make money from yours with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and bring your podcast to life. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 264 of Optimal Living Advice, the podcast where we take any questions you might have about the many struggles of life and get them answered for you here on the show. I am your host, certified life coach Greg Audino, reminding you before we begin that if you have a question you would like help with on the show, we welcome you to email it to us at advice@oldpodcast.com. You will definitely hear back from us, and pretty much all the questions get answered, honestly. And if they don't on the show, they will be answered through email. Promise. Anyway, today our question comes from a girl who is starting to branch into a lifestyle of choices that is new to her and a bit contradictory to what she's known in the past and what she was raised with. Surely this can come with some growing pains, I'll call them, and she's feeling distanced from her best friend and even a bit distanced from who she feels she once was. So how can we make sense of all this? How can we draw lines for ourselves and try things for ourselves? Well, listen on. Here's her question. I recently tried cannabis for the first time ever. I'm 24. I'm what you might call a late bloomer. I mean that in the last year or so, I've started to get more comfortable doing things like this. Things that I don't feel are harmful, but things that you're told not to do when you're young. I haven't told my family about this, and I don't feel I owe it to them. But my question is about my best friend. I did tell her. She's someone that grew up in a family with similar beliefs, and she has still held true to them. I tell her everything I do, and she sort of laughs at me, sort of judges me. She would never tell me not to do something, but I worry about her sometimes thinking less of me for exploring more than she does. It always makes me think about if I'm building bad habits, or if I'm not the person I used to be. Is this something for me to talk to her about, or do I need to get over these feelings on my own and spend more time figuring out who I want to be? What do I want to condone or not condone on this show? What am I allowed to condone or not condone on this show? You've put me in the hot seat, Asker. I respect that. Good question. Well, I think this question poses a good opportunity to really strip away all of life's nonsense and get back in touch with who we really are and what this life is and what we want ours to be about. Asker, everyone, take a minute to really identify and rid yourself of everything in your life that's been constructed by humans. You can leave your values and your beliefs, but I'm saying drop the labels for a second, drop the expectations, the traditions, and forget the rules we're all told to follow. At the true core of our existences, okay, what are we and what is life? Going to be an easygoing episode today. I can see. My answer to this question is that we're people. We're just beings given a life to live. We've been dealt different hands and we have different opportunities. But ultimately, we are born into a world with infinite paths we can take, due not to resources, but to any number of decisions we can make at any given moment. We have until we die to make these decisions and soak up whatever our world has to offer us. What we do not have is a proven guide for how to do this right, or what realities exist beyond our knowledge. We create our own guides based on those values and beliefs I mentioned, but even they are our best guesses. So, I guess the question for all of us becomes, what do you want to do with your time? What is important, Asker? Many people would answer that by saying life is an adventure and The more we choose to explore and try, the more of it we get to live, and the more certain we become of what works for us and what doesn't. And I would say the same, roughly. You mentioned doing things that aren't harming anyone. This is good, because like many, I would say that exploring life anew only becomes objectively dicey when the harm of others or ourselves is on the table. But still, on a deep philosophical level, you can of course argue against the correctness of that as well. Again, because there is no manual. I am in no way advocating for you or anyone to do harm unto yourself or others, because that's a line that I feel is healthy and optimal. But everyone still has the right to choose their own path, the ability to choose their own path, even if they will be punished by their fellow man for it. So, ask her, what do you want to choose? What do you want your life to be about? You're allowed to have autonomy in this decision, and doing so is especially safe at the adult age of 24 versus when you were a child. And, look at how you've presented yourself. You ask my advice for something you feel is character-driven. You want to maintain your relationships and make sure you're honoring both where you come from and your inclination to build good habits. You can see why I would not be worried about your ability to see when your decisions are becoming too dangerous. Your friend, family, and conscience, too, will likely be right on you if and when that threshold is crossed. So with that being said, keep listening to them. There seems to be a whole collection of sources of love that are looking out for you. Them caring about you and them wanting to act differently themselves or wanting you to act differently can coexist. Regarding your friend, know that when her tone switches from difference of opinion, like now, to advising you not to do something, that's when your ears can really perk up. And it's not to say she'll definitely be right. She might have sensitivity around some issues that she'll project onto you. But what I'm saying is that you can listen more attentively because you'll know that you've reached new territory in which her concern for you is spiked. So if she gives you directions, that's a turning point and thus basis for a new discussion. But until that happens, pass the time by respecting the fact that your upbringings and experiences have been similar, yet inevitably different. Do adult friendship the right way, and know that you two can grow in different directions while still maintaining a close bond. Trying different things or having different lifestyles doesn't have to equate to having different core values, and values are what you build any good relationship upon, with friends, family, or lovers. Just be certain that you stay mindful in your own way. Again, based on how you've presented yourself, you'll probably not slip too seriously into bad habits. Of course, I don't know you from a hole in the wall, though, so just for good measure, I will remind you to remind yourself of why it is that you find yourself trying the new things that you choose to try. As a general rule of thumb, if repression serves as the bedrock, you're getting into rough terrain. Do you find yourself trying new things because they numb pain, like if they're fueled by revenge, release, and escape? Or are they built on curiosity and a desire for exploration? Be sure your new activities are going towards something, not running away from something. There's a difference. And looking at how put together other aspects of your life are when trying new things can be a pretty good measuring stick and means of seeing it objectively. Okay, Asker, thank you once more for sending in this great question and prompting what I hope is a useful and thought-provoking answer. Surely this is the type of situation in which you'll hear a lot of different types of guidance because we all do assess these issues differently. So it's paramount that you walk that line of listening to others and learning as well as yourself. I trust you, and you can always come back if you continue to struggle with this. So on that note, it's time to wrap up for now. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Thank you, Asker. Thank you for trusting in us. And be sure to come on back for the Wednesday show. Until then.